Hello, friends. So, Bible study, the NIV Acts. We're going to do chapter 25. It's all the way through. 1 through, I think it's like 27. Yeah, 1 through 27. So, it's just the whole chapter 25. It features a special guest star, which I got to tell you, I know a lot of people who really like math who find him very this character very interesting. And I also got to say I'm amused by the subtle undertones of something that's going on in this particular story. So let's get into it. The trial before Festus, because remember, Paul has been arrested. He's in prison now. He's been in prison for years in Caesarea, because the Felix, didn't know what to do. The governor. So now there's a new governor, Festus, and the trial before Festus. 3 days after arriving in the province, Festus went up to Caesarea, went from Caesarea to Jerusalem, because Caesarea is where his headquarters, where the chief priests and the Jewish leaders appeared before him, presenting the charges against Paul. Okay. They urgently requested Festus, as a favor to them, have Paul transferred to Jerusalem, for they were preparing to ambush to kill him along the way. Festus answered, Paul is being held at Caesarea, and I myself am going there soon. Let some of your leaders come to me and press charges against the man there if he has done anything wrong. Like, no, I'm not going to stay here. That requires me to stay here longer than I wanted to. So no, thank you. After spending 8 to 10 days with them, he went down to Caesarea. Then the next day he convened court and ordered Paul be brought before him. When Paul appeared, the Jews who had come down from Jerusalem stood around him, bringing many serious charges against them, which they could not prove. Okay. Then Paul made his defense. I have done nothing wrong against the law of the Jews, because he was in the middle of a sanctifying process. That's not illegal. That's exactly what he's supposed to be doing when they seized him. He wasn't blaspheming. Or against the temple, or against Caesar. Festus, wishing to do the Jews a favor, he wants them in his debt, right? Said to Paul, are you willing to go up to Jerusalem and stand a trial before me there on these charges? Paul answered, I am now standing before Caesar's court, where I ought to be tried. I have not done anything wrong to the Jews, as you yourself know very well. If, however, I am guilty of doing anything deserving death, I do not refuse to die. But if the charges brought against me by these Jews are not true, no one has the right to hand me over to them. I appeal to Caesar. After Festus conferred with his counselor, he declared, you have appealed to Caesar. To Caesar, you will go. Because what's happening here, before I get into these other two parts where we get to our guest character, if you will, in the Bible, is that Paul has been in custody for 2 years for his own protection, because Festus has an issue. He doesn't understand this conflict. He doesn't understand what's going on, because in the Roman culture, this conflict wouldn't be happening. So he has no context of this. But he also has a very strict series of laws that he has to follow. Just like the moment they had heard that Paul was a Roman citizen at the start of this, the people who were about to beat him just stopped. They stopped and put everything down. They're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We can't abuse this man. It's illegal. They are a nation all around the world. They have to have rule of law. Otherwise, what you're going to end up having is all those very strong centurions from all those places who are not identifying as Roman and therefore under the control of the emperor would start rebelling and making their own countries where they are, because they would have the power base and the power structure. So that rule of law must be absolute. And the people who are under your command must know it. Their army is made up of people who come from other places who don't necessarily initially have any loyalty to Rome. It's beaten into them and then it's bred into them that they're Roman citizens. That only works if you uphold your end of the deal or you fall apart. And they are told they can become Roman citizens, and there is a better way if you let us control things. It's part of the brainwash that has to happen. That's part of nation making. People must feel loyalty to their country. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. That's why people band together as a group, as a country in the first place, is safety in numbers. And that only works if there's loyalty, right? So, okay. They've got to uphold it. He's a citizen. He basically did the same thing from the very beginning as he's doing consistently as he just did, Paul, to a different governor now, where he's essentially like a person in a police precinct saying the word lawyer. The police don't get a choice. They got to stop. And now they can't speak to you, and you can't speak to them until your lawyer's present. If you start talking to them, they have to ask you to waive your right to speak to them before your lawyer gets there, right? Because it's a system of laws. So he was like, oh, you want to see the emperor? And he doesn't even know how to solve this problem. No problem. Boss, I don't know what to do with this. I need you to solve this problem. It requires more skills than I have. Fix it for me. Just like the commander did to Felix. Because that's what we do when we're not sure what to do. We run it up the chain of command, right? I don't know why this is a problem, but I can feel this is a problem and I don't know how to solve it because I don't feel like it's my problem to solve. And we all do that, right? We all do that. We all have those moments when we're working. Because for Festus, this is his job. Festus consults King Agrippa. A few days later, King Agrippa and Bernice arrived in Caesarea to pay their respects to Festus, since they were spending many days there. Festus discussed Paul's case with the king. He said, "There is a man here whom Felix left as a prisoner. When I went to Jerusalem, the chief priests and elders of the Jews brought charges against him and asked that he be condemned. I told them that it's not the Roman custom to hand over any man before he has faced his accusers." Which sounds familiar, right? Because it's what we pulled over this way, isn't it? And has had an opportunity to defend himself against the charges. When they came here with me, I did not delay the case, but convened court the next day and ordered that this man be brought in. When his accusers got up to speak, they did not charge him with any of the crimes I had expected. Instead, they had some points of dispute with him about their own religion and about a dead man named Jesus, whom Paul claimed was alive. I was at a loss about how to investigate such matters, so I asked if he would be willing to go to Jerusalem and stand trial there in these charges. When Paul made his appeal to be held over for the emperor's decision, I ordered he be held until I could send him to Caesar. Then Agrippa said to Festus, "I would like to hear this man myself." He replied, "Tomorrow you will hear him." So Agrippa, I would look up, you're like, I don't know who the heck that is. I would look up Agrippa Squares. It has to do with math and cipher systems. If you like ciphers, and you like, you're sort of like one of those find the secret code kind of people, decoder rings, there's a whole other channel you should watch. It's called The Ghosts of Bacon. A friend of mine, Jake Roberts, he's was before he retired recently, so congratulations to him again if he's watching. A high school English teacher, but also he taught, sort of the logic and reasoning class, which is the beginning of coding, actually. He's got a complete fascination with Sir Francis Bacon. So his channel is called The Ghosts of Bacon, and he'll be happy to explain Agrippa squares to you. I don't do that, though. So you'll have to look it up, and if you have any further curiosity, go over there. This next parable here is called Paul before Agrippa. The next day, Agrippa and Bernice came with great pomp and entered the audience room with the high-ranking officers and the leading men of the city. At the command of Festus, Paul was brought in. Festus said, "King Agrippa, and all who are present with us, you see this man. The whole Jewish community has petitioned me about him in Jerusalem and here in Caesarea, shouting that he ought not to live any longer. I found that he had done nothing deserving of death. And because he made an appeal to the emperor, I decided to send him to Rome. But I have nothing definite to write to his majesty about. Therefore, I have brought him before all of you, and especially before you, King Agrippa, so that as a result of this investigation, I may have something to write. For I think it is unreasonable to send a prisoner without specifying the charges against him. I know that I can't handle this problem, but I don't even have the words to describe this problem to my boss, friends. I don't know what to do, because these people are asking me to sanctify their murder of a Roman citizen. And I can't do that. I can't justify giving them what they want. And I can't, unless I hold him prisoner for the rest of his life, keep them from trying to kill him. And I know that that's what they want to do. I don't know what to do. And I don't know how to tell my boss what the problem is. So God is giving him a chance to convert every high-ranking Roman official or Roman friend or influencer like King Agrippa from around the world. And then he's going to send him before the emperor. He's going to give him a chance to make the Romans Christians. I wonder how that turned out. Again, a giant, giant, giant sign that whatever you're trying to force isn't working is when your enemy keeps succeeding no matter how hard you try. It's called no weapon formed against me shall prosper. It means, they're fighting a losing battle before they even start, or trying to fight at all.